Welcome back to the Natasha Effect. It's another Monday, so you know what that means. Time to start reading between the lines. So we're still covering the 48 laws of power, and if you've been keeping up, you know we're getting close to the end. But this book is all about decoding how these laws play out in real life, in our energy, our choices, relationships, and just how we can show up in the world more powerful. Last week, we talked about presence, perception, and power dynamics. This week, we're going to talk about staying authentic while navigating influence, keeping your balance when you're being watched, and never letting emotion pull you off your throne. So let's start with Law 41. Law 41 says, avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. What happens first always appears better and more original than what comes after. If you succeed, a great man, or have a famous parent, you will have to accomplish double their achievements to outshine them. Honestly, this law is about identity and understanding the danger of imitation and not being your true, authentic self. Because when you step into a space that someone else built, you don't just inherit the space, but you're inheriting their shadow. And that can dim your light automatically if you're not careful. Because remember, where there's light, there's a shadow. The truth is, power moves best in originality. You don't have to be the next anyone, not the next influencer, the next thought leader, the next version of whoever it was that came before you. Because you are the first you. Like, there's only ever going to be one Natasha Sudsbury, and I am right here. And that's what makes people remember your name. It's not about doing like what's already been done before. It's about doing it in a way that is unmistakably yours, authentically you. And the moment that you realize that your individuality is your advantage is when imitation becomes innovation. And that's just because what's authentic cannot be replicated. And once you know who you are, once you stop competing with ghosts or the people that came before you, the next or the last, keeping your center when everyone's eyes are on you, that is when you move into Law 41. So moving right into 42, strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Trouble can often be traced to a single strong individual. The stirrer, the arrogant underling, the poisoner of goodwill. If you allow such people room to operate, others will succumb to their influence. Do not wait for the troubles they cause to multiply. Do away with them before it's too late. Now, Robert Greene is talking about leadership and discernment here. Every circle has energy, and every one person's chaos can quietly spread if you don't check it early. Sometimes the most powerful move that you can make isn't confrontation, it's removal. You don't always have to announce who's being cut off. Just do it. Close the access. Shut the door. Because protecting your peace is strategic. When you eliminate the source of disorder, the harmony and balance, it's going to naturally restore itself. And this applies in all aspects of life, business, friendships, family. Not everyone can sit at your table. Not because you don't love them or want to take them with you, but truly, you've just outgrown what they eat. And speaking of energy, that'll just help us roll right into 43. Because once you control your environment, you have to understand the pulse of the people in it. So Law 43 says, work on the hearts and minds of others. Coercion creates a reaction that will eventually work against you. You must seduce others into wanting to move in your direction. Now, this one's powerful because, excuse me. This one's powerful because it blends strategy with empathy. Power that lasts, it's not taken, it's inspired. And people don't usually follow commands, they'll follow connection. So When you understand what moves people, what they crave, what they fear, what they hope for, their mission, you can lead with both strength and softness. And this is where that influence kind of becomes an art, because the real power move at this point isn't control, it's alignment. And you get to make people want to be a part of what you're creating. You're not demanding it. And that, oh my gosh. And that's where there's another book called The Art of Seduction. That is where this really overlaps with the laws of power. You don't force it, you draw it in, and you don't demand loyalty, you're inspiring it. People are following you because they want to. And there's a fine line, because when you know how to touch hearts and influence minds, you also have to protect yourself and your own mind and heart. And that is what Law 44 says. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. The mirror reflects reality, but it also is the perfect tool for deception. When you mirror your enemies doing exactly as they do, they cannot figure out your strategy. This Law 44 is all about psychological warfare, but subtly. When people try to provoke you, just mirror them. Copy what they're doing. Just to go off course a little, when my toddler starts like crying and throwing a tantrum, I'll just mimic him, and it throws him off. He really doesn't know how to respond, and so he stops because it just disarmed him, essentially. So, circling back, when people are gossiping, be quiet. When they act cold, match their tone but not their intention. Mirroring confuses manipulation because it removes the reaction. You're not feeding the fire by reacting. You're just kind of showing them what they're doing, and then it throws everybody off. That's why emotional control is one of the highest forms of power. You become unreadable, and unreadable people are unstoppable. So when someone tries to project their chaos onto you, hold the mirror up to them and let them see themselves, not your reaction. Because at the end of the day, you can't fight reflection. You can only face it. Because now they're being forced to face themselves and what they're doing. And so we'll end with that. That was laws 41 through 44. Identity, discernment, influence, and control, all wrapped up into one great episode. Each one builds on the last, teaching you how to stay authentic, protect your energy, move minds and hearts, and just essentially remain powerful and untouchable. And that's the beauty of this series. It's not playing games. It is truly about mastering self-awareness so deeply that you can move through any room with power, peace, and grace. So again, if this episode resonated with you, please share it with somebody who is learning to protect their own energy differently, someone who's ready to move from reaction to response. And as always, make sure you're following the Natasha Effect wherever you listen, because next Monday, we are going to be wrapping up the series and closing it out with power. So until then, stay grounded, stay graceful, and remember, you don't chase power, you embody it. Bye.